Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second remote meetup. The theme today is going to be contributing to Open edX. And we're going to have a number of guest people speaking. So let's get started. As always, feel free to let us know in the Slack Hangout, the remote meetup channel, if there's any problems with the presentation or anything else. Just flag us, let us know, and we'll try to fix it. Great, so I'm going to get started sharing our slides. Screen share. Present. Oh my gosh, where's the presenting? Oh, there it is. Great, excellent. That's already covered everything, which was not that much. Cool, so just a reminder about remote meetups, since after all, this is only the second one. They're going to be monthly on the fourth Thursday of the month, unless for some reason that's a terrible time for us and we make it a different time. We'll be alternating between 10 to 11 a.m. And 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, UTC -4, currently anyway. We haven't heard from anyone who said they can't make either of those times, but if you can't, please let us know. We're going to have some recurring features, community updates, roadmap update, and community spotlight, which we'll be going through today. Today's featured topic is the Open edX contribution process. We do not yet have a topic selected for next month, so please suggest ones to us. You can make suggestions in the remote meetup channel, or mail to cm@edx.org or to the edX-code mailing list. However you want to tell us, we're happy to hear your suggestions. All right, so starting with the community update, one thing that we're doing is Outreachy. So Outreachy is an internship program that helps people from groups that are underrepresented in free and open source software get involved in free and open source software.
Move the slide.
So you're not, who's broadcasting right now?
I think it's me. But you're right, it's not. I think it was on a delay before. Like it was on like a 15-second delay. Why don't we ask in the Slack channel whether everyone else is experiencing the delay? Because last time there was a delay on the thing that was getting projected. So Slack channel, do you see the slide community update Outreachy, or do you see the slide about remote meetup? Yeah, they don't have a delay. So maybe in fact having the display is not good because it makes us paranoid, but we'll see. All right, great. So yeah, so everyone seems to see what we want them to see, and it's just us who are delayed by like 2 minutes. Great, so okay, Outreachy. So it's a paid full-time internship that's running from December to March, and the application process is open right now. Generally, it's for people who underrepresented FOSS. You can read the full eligibility criteria at the link provided. But if you are eligible, we'd be happy to see your applications and to have you join us. It is a remote internship. If you're in Boston, you're welcome to come in as much as you want, but it's not limited to people who are in Boston. So yeah, that's a thing. You're welcome to apply or to reach out and ask questions. Other community updates. The support tool that I talked about at the last meetup is still happening. We're just going through the internal review process. But I really hope that by the time this meetup rolls around next month, it'll already be set up and we'll be using it. But I am an eternal optimist. So anyway, here's hoping. And just a couple reminder of things you might not know about. There's an Ops Hangout that happens every couple of months. You can find out about it via the Open edX Ops Google group. And it's a bit like this, but focused on ops stuff. Also, just a reminder that our Open edX conference is happening the 24th, 25th of May in Madrid. Just, keep an eye out for information about that. Cool, next thing, roadmap update. So we're not gonna have a full roadmap update.
We might need to slow down a little bit and let people ask questions in the channel if they have it.
That's a very good point, Ed. Does anyone have any questions about?
Yes. Regis asks, what is the support tool?
Right, so the support tool is going to be something a bit Stack Overflow-esque. The primary reason we wanted is that right now people are mostly getting support via mailing lists and via the Slack channel. And neither of those are good for, they're not good for us to keep track of the questions being asked and making sure we're answering them. They're not good for making it easy for other people to find open questions that haven't been answered. They're not easy to search, especially Slack. So we want to use a tool that makes it easy for us to, for people to ask questions, to see when questions have been asked before, to answer them, for us to know who's answering questions and, thank them and support them. So we're not using Stack Overflow because Stack Overflow, they have their own moderations and deletion policy, and we don't want people's questions deleted if we don't think they should be deleted. And generally we want the community to have control over how things gets moderated and not the sort of broader Stack Overflow empire. But we're looking for something that's like that in quality. So we're looking at a few different tool options, and we're nearing the end of that process. So hopefully we'll be able to make a final decision, sign contracts, and get it up and running within the next month. So we'll have it ready for the next meetup. Cool. Any other questions from the community update sections? Cool. I don't see anyone. I don't see it say that anyone started typing. So there's no one. If people are still forming questions, they're doing it mentally. Right. So
Let me see. No, I'm not kidding.
So for the roadmap update, we have a new VP of product, which is exciting. That should help us do a better job of communicating our product plans. And one initiative that the product team is launching is doing monthly updates on the Open edX and partner portals of changes to the roadmap, progress on the roadmap. So rather than reinventing the wheel just for this one meetup, we're gonna skip the roadmap update, and then starting next month, we'll just be giving you a quick highlight of what's been posted to the portal, and you can also check things out there. Great. All right. Oh, wait. Any questions on the roadmap? I realized I didn't say very much, so. So community spotlight. So we have two different community groups that we're spotlighting today. And if you'll be patient, I need to figure out how to get them joining this Hangout. So I think is this working? So Derek and Pan, can you, oh, excellent. All right, so I think that's working. Was it as simple as that?
I think you might just mean Zoom, minimize the screen sharing, and Google Hangouts will automatically focus on the one who's speaking. This is the default behavior on previous Hangouts on air that I've been participating with. Excellent.
All right. Well, this seems generally positive. So again, Slack channel, let us know if things are not working as expected, but I'm just going to assume that everything's fine. So hi, Derek and Pan. You're from UBC. Can you just tell us a little bit about UBC and how long you've been involved with Open edX?
Sure. You can hear us okay?
I can hear you. Hopefully the channel can hear you. Okay,
that's great. So UBC is in Vancouver in Canada. It's you've been about 60,000 students, a couple of campuses. We've been with the edX consortium since 2015. I believe I can't remember exactly when we started, but we've been sort of developing on the platform since the beginning, about February of 2015.
And so, how did you get started with edX? Do you know?
How did we get started with edX? Well, I mean, the university committed when they became a consortium member. They committed to a bunch of things. So they, obviously there's course development, so MOOCs and CPE courses and other sorts of courses. But we also wanted to use the platform in the campus applications. But we also committed to some research outputs on teaching practice in the platform, but also committed to doing development in the platform and contributing to well, in particular, so we don't run our own production version of OpenEdX here. We use the hosted versions. So we use Edge environment, and so all of the development that we do is aimed to be, we work with the community to try to work out what's actually of value, and will be supported by the edX, and in particular be supported by the hosted versions.
Great.
So, yeah.
So your users primarily students. What makes OpenEdX a good fit for them?
Well, I guess there are a number of things. So if I talk you a little bit about what our campus application, if you like, which is I think the primary thing for OpenEdX. So we have about 80 courses that are using the platform, 80 courses that are active at least. There's about 30 of those with students in at the moment, although there's probably another 12 to 20 odd that are using the LTI integration, so they're consuming the edX content directly into our Blackboard learner management system. In terms of fit, the way we conceive of it here at UBC is that it is one tool within our ecosystem of platforms and learning technology tools that an instructor can select from. So pretty much what you have is people using it for experimenting with innovation and teaching. So there's a contestable fund that instructors here can apply for, and they will ask for some money. And sometimes that's a case of wanting to use the edX platform to experiment with the platform itself. And then the other sort of set of users in terms of instructors, what we call DIY plus. So these are people who pretty much we've sort of said to them, you can use this platform, expect to have a minimum amount of central support, although we've actually built a reasonable amount of support around this now. But we're really asking people to have a degree of technical proficiency to be able to manage the interface pieces of edX. So they need to have the ability to handle markup language and be able to dig into the XML, that sort of stuff. But it's just an option that people have. I think most people who are using it have made the choices for a number of reasons. One is that they like the lighter sort of interface than in comparison with our central learning management system. So pedagogically, people are interested in the different ways of presenting the content. So particularly the slider sort of presentation piece is interesting to people. The ability to embed assessment with content directly, which is more difficult to do with our learning management system. Some people like the problem types, different sorts of problem types, and we have elsewhere. The peer tools, so the peer assessment tool, the peer instruction tool, which is one of the tools that we developed here at UBC that runs in the edX environment. People use it for those reasons. In terms of the LTI, using LTI to consume the content back into our learning management system, people are using it, interestingly enough, some people are using it simply as a way of abstracting sort of content presentation pieces away from our learning management system and managing them inside of edX. They find it an easier and perhaps a nicer way of presenting that information. And then I guess the other side is just sort of modularizing some assessment items in the sort of the way that edX packages them and then pulling them into the learning management system.
Thank you for such a thorough answer. I have one more question, and then we should move on to Omar. So what kinds of contributions have you made or are you hoping to make back to the OpenEdX platform?
I'll let Ken talk to that.
Yeah, we did some development. So all the development are done in the hosted environment. So basically we're working with community and to see if this feature is available to the whole community. And then we work with edX to go through the architectural review and accessibility review and all different reviews. And then we put the feature out in edX and let the community use it and give us the feedback. So in particular, we developed a peer instruction tool, which is a tool that allows students to do the peer instruction, allow them to see other students' answers and give other students feedback. Also, they will get a feedback from instructor at the end as well. So we also developed the LTI tool provider functionality. So we developed how do
we work with the design. So there's a campus applications group that met to sort of talk about some key pieces of integration work in particular that were needed in the platform to support campus applications. So we are working on the sort of design pieces both with the single sign-on, the shibboleth stuff, as well as the LTI as a tool provider. But we did some additional development work to make LTI as an identity source that could be used as well for single sign-on.
Yeah. So we also did some improvement on Oracle. So we enhanced the file upload functionality to Oracle, and we're also doing some integration piece with edX. So we're trying to integrate our tools into edX through LTI. So such as a response map, which is giving the student a map, allow them to post on the map. So some kind of introduction for themselves of where they're coming from, and they can also do all kinds of things related to the map. We're also having a new tool called Compare. It's similar to the peer instruction, but it's more feature. It has more features, and it's a standalone tool. So we're trying to the LTI integration with edX as well. We also developed something called identity management, identity detective. It's a tool allows to, because we have in BC we have a privacy context. Like we can send student information to the cloud. So basically, we have to find a way to encrypt the student information, or just send out the identifier without any other student private information. So, but for the on-campus course that are using edX, instructor has a challenge. Allow them to they need to figure out which student is in the course. So we were building a tool that allows them to map the student back to the on-campus identity, so that they can know which student is enrolled into that edX course and what kind of activity they did in the course.
Oh, so it sounds like you've made a ton of contributions. Thank you for those. If folks have any questions for the UBC team, for Derek and Tan, feel free to ask in Slack. I'm going to switch over now to talking with Omar of the edX initiative. So, hi there. I think you're muted.
I think you can hear me now, right?
Yeah. Great. So can you tell us a bit about the edX initiative and how you guys got involved with OpenEdX?
Okay. So edX is an initiative by the Queen Rania Foundation, the Queen of Jordan, which is located in the Middle East. edX is a platform that targets the Arabic learners ranging from high school to even to post grad studies. So, and we offer MOOCs in various categories, including business, HR, technology, science, and some social, and we even have some social courses. We have I mean, it's more like edX but in Arabic. So edRock has been built from day one on the edX platform. So we are not just using Open edX. We are built. I mean, our platform is solely Open edX and some customization that we do. We have currently about 700,000 learners, so we are approaching 1 million learner hopefully by the end of the year. Globally, it may not sound a lot, but it is a significant number. Because the Arab population is not that much compared to the world population, so we have a very high percentage if you normalize it to the Arabic students connecting to the internet. So, and we're really happy. I mean, we're really proud of this, and we're really happy with the capabilities and power that the Open edX platform provides us with.
What elements or features of Open edX makes it a good fit for your learners? And are there things that your learners could use that we don't provide yet that you'd like to see us add?
Well, in terms of what things that are really good at for our learners, I think the LMS itself is really an improvement over any of the tools that I know of, including Moodle and any other custom tool that I've seen. Mainly, it's international. It's well internationalized. It allows us to provide a localized experience for our user. It supports multiple variations of course content authoring. So it allows us to experiment multiple kinds of course instructional design. So this is, I think, it helps the users a lot. Our learners a lot, and the advanced features in it, like providing certificates, providing exams, the multiple video sources, the flexible course content again, which is you have the freedom to decide which content, the hierarchy of the course and the release dates. This is, I think, all of this help us to release content to the learners in a consumable chunks rather than providing them with a single PDF file and say, hey, okay, just say that and do the exam, which is the opposite of what the student needs.
Excellent.
Regarding the things that were missing from the platform, mainly it was two things. The platform did not provide RTL built-in, but in 2014, it has been a very, big. I was involved in the project of supporting the RTL in the platform with Francis Botsford and Serena, and it was a very big project. I think it took months to complete, but finally, the contributions from edX onward were all, internally and externally by open source. It was all, use that RTL solution, and we started to, what can I call it, the karma back, and so it was basically a huge effort that made the infrastructure for the solution, and then we just stopped worrying a lot about it. And because most of the modules, when we update with edX, with the new version of edX platform, already has the RTL and has the Unicode support built in, just like what we would like it to be. So this is, I think, it wasn't. It was a major issue, but within time, at least since 2014, it has been resolved, and we're really happy about that.
I'm glad to hear it. So we're going to move on to our main presentation, but if anyone has questions for Amar, just ask them in the remote meetup channel. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about the edRock initiative.
Okay, it's my pleasure. One thing, I don't have access to the Slack channel. I try to. Yeah. So if there's anything specific for me, I mean, do you mind if you repeat? If you say it, so I can, or just provide me with it.
So there is actually a question that I can read out to you now, which is, would I be right in thinking that EdRock is Jordan-based?
Sorry?
Is EdRock based in Jordan?
Yes, our office is based in Jordan. We have some remote workers, and we do work a lot with other, Arab instructors, because mainly we offer Arabic courses only, from Harvard, from other, and from other Arabic and non-Arabic universities. So, but our main office, yes, it is in Jordan. But our main learners are, the majority of all learners do not come from Jordan. Because Jordan is a small country relatively to the Arab world. So we have a lot of learners from Egypt, from Saudi Arabia, from the GCC countries in general, and other countries, including, of course, Jordan.
Great. So if anyone comes up with additional questions, are you going to be watching the rest of the meetup? Because I can just put you on mute, and then so we're going to have a time period at the end for people to ask questions. So we can always have you direct questions over to you during that time period.
Yeah. I'm going to be there for the whole.
Right. Excellent. Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Great. So I guess hold on to your question, and if you've got it, and save it for the question period at the end. Great. So we're going to move on. Let me screen share again.
So am I supposed to be able to present?
You can just use my computer. So moving back to our main set of slides. So we're going to have the open source team is going to, as a collective, present a bunch of different elements of contributing to the Open edX platform. And we're going to start with Ned, who's going to go over sort of the most common process.
Hi, everyone. So this is an overview of how code gets contributed to Open edX, and we'll talk a little bit later about other styles of contribution, which vary in how much they are like the code process. But
oh, hold on a second. I think I forgot to select myself in the window. All right.
How's that?
Slack channel, is it working now?
Yes, for me it is working fine. I'm sorry.
Oh, excellent. Starting to get the hang of it.
So, as I was saying, this is going to talk about our primary code contribution process, and other types of contribution have similarities to this. Some are very like it, some are very different. We'll cover those other types of contribution at the end. I definitely want to make clear that although I am a software engineer and I am focused on code contribution, I also understand that there's lots of different ways to contribute both to the product and to the community. And so we're always interested to hear ways that we can be doing more to help you with that. For instance, Omar and Derek and Pan just contributed simply by being here to talk for 10 minutes about what they've been doing. But to get to the code contribution process, so we have all of our code is open source, and we welcome contributions. But we are a large engineering organization, and so we have a somewhat formalized process in place both to set expectations for you and to set expectations for us. And there are a number of steps to go through in order to have an ideal experience with contributing your idea into the finished product. So the steps in brief are to discuss the idea, to get a contribution agreement signed. You write your code, you submit your pull request, you do the pull request review with the reviewers, you merge, and then you help us support the idea. And I'll cover each of these in detail in the following slides. So the first step is to discuss your idea. In a lot of other open source projects, which are smaller, the very first step, the first time the project hears about you is when you make a pull request and you've got code to contribute. ideally, we would be talking with you before you even implement your code. And there's a few reasons for that. One is we may have some ideas about how that feature would ideally be implemented to fit best with the code we've already got. We might already be working on something like that, and we'd like to merge the two ideas in some kind of nice way. Third possibility is that your idea is so exotic and interesting that it's actually going to be difficult for us to bring it into the product. And we want to talk to you about other ways that we could support your idea through an API so that your code can exist outside of the product rather than contributing it. And the last is that we may know about other people who've already started talking about this. So for instance, when there's a really large feature contribution, often your idea is something that someone else has already thought of, and maybe they've started working on it, or they're looking for a technical contributor. And if we can help do that matchmaking, then we can get a bunch of people together who can make a more successful contribution. We have a product organization here who are the people who are responsible for steering the direction of the product and designing features. And if your idea is large enough, we'd like to get them involved to make sure that your contribution is going to be successful. So at the end of discussing the idea, you'll have some amount of agreement that this is a good idea. You maybe have a rough or even a detailed design of the feature that you want to contribute, and you're ready to move to the next step. In order to contribute code into the product, you're going to have to sign our contribution agreement. It's a simple legal document that gives us joint ownership of the code. So you own the code that you contribute, but we also have ownership rights to the code you contribute. And that is a requirement before any contribution can get made. We've had pull requests that add a comma to our documentation, and we insist on a legal agreement before we will merge that comma into the documentation, just to keep everyone on the same playing field. And because we hope that if you're interested enough to add commas to the documentation, eventually you'll be adding maybe words, maybe sentences, who knows, maybe even paragraphs at some point. And so we would like to have all of that covered by the legal agreement. Now, you get to what I consider the fun part. You write the code. This can be complicated depending on how large your idea is. The Open edX platform is a lot of code spread across a lot of repos. Some of it is easy to go in and change, and some of it is difficult to go in and change. The engineers at edX can help with that. The engineers in the community can help with that. The dev channel on Slack is where people hang out and can help answer development questions if you have them. One of the things that helps keep edX.org and all the other Open edX adopters successful is that we have fairly high engineering standards for the code that we merge into the product. So for instance, we have formalized coding guidelines that we check with automated tools in the pull request. We insist on having good test coverage for the code. So if you're even fixing a small bug, it's likely a bug that was not tested before, which is why it's in the product. And so we would like to see a new test added to ensure that the bug does not come back. If you're adding a new feature, certainly we're going to want to have tests to make sure that that feature keeps working. edX has a very high commitment to accessibility in the product, and that is a requirement that lots of engineers are not familiar with. I know I wasn't when I first got to edX. We can help you understand, if you're building front-end features, how to make them accessible so that we can truly live up to the mission of making education available to everyone in the world. Internationalization is something we try very hard at, and EdRock and other non-English adopters have helped us see the problems that need to be fixed along the way. But we're going to insist that all of the code that you produce can be localized. So you don't have to provide translations of all of the text in your code, but you do have to properly mark up your human readable text so that they can be translated. And last, one of the things that's a little difficult for other Open edX adopters is to appreciate the scale at which edX.org runs. So your feature, you may build a feature that works great on your instance of Open edX, and then when we try to run it on edX.org with 8 million learners, those 10 database queries that you're doing turn out to be a problem. And so we may have to talk to you about how else to implement that feature in order to make sure that the feature will run at scale for all of the Open edX adopters, including edX.org. So there's a question in the channel about a way to set up the automated tests locally. You can run the tests locally. It takes a while. But if you have a dev stack and you run Paver test system, it should run all of the tests that that Jenkins is going to run. So all of our repos are set up to run tests locally if you want to. It just can be a little bit difficult to get all of the prerequisites installed. The edX platform runs GUI automation that requires a particular version of Firefox, although that should be pre-installed by DevStack. So there is a Paver command which should run all of the tests locally. And again, if you're having trouble with that, you can ask in the dev channel in Slack. There's even a testing channel, I think, in Slack where you can get help with that. But keep in mind also, we don't require you to run the tests before you submit a pull request. There's a testing channel. It's very common for engineers to push changes on their pull request branches that tests fail. And you go and look at the test failures and then you fix it. It's a longer feedback cycle for you because not only do you have to wait for all the tests to run, but you have to wait for your pull request to get to the front of Jenkins and run the tests. So you will probably have a better experience if you run the tests locally. And also you can run a subset of the tests locally. So if you know that you're just changing the back-end servers, there's no reason to wait for the bok choy tests to run to test the GUI in order to find out what you've done to the server code. So definitely, I encourage you to learn about the Paver commands that run the tests so that you can get a good feedback loop going on the code that you're writing. And as Joel points out, you shouldn't rely on Jenkins because other people are waiting for Jenkins too. Any other questions about writing the code? We could do a whole hour about the challenges in writing code to be contributed into OpenEdX.
And if there's interest, we will do a whole hour on it.
I have a feeling I just volunteered to talk for an hour at the next remote meetup, which I didn't intend to do. Okay. So once your code is ready and you're happy with it, you submit a pull request, which you do on GitHub through the standard GitHub mechanisms. One of the things that's a little tricky to navigate is that in some places, edX uses the plain old GitHub techniques for things, making pull requests, reviewing code, running continuous integration tests. And in some places we don't. So for instance, we don't use GitHub issue trackers, we use Jira. But when it comes to making the pull request, you make a pull request on GitHub using the standard Git and GitHub techniques. We have a bot that will comment on your pull request. So as soon as you make the pull request, you will get a comment on the pull request. And I had meant to put a screenshot in here, which I forgot to do. But the bot is very friendly and it says, hey, thanks for your pull request. And here's some things to remember. If you don't have a contributors agreement signed yet, then there will be a sentence in that first paragraph that says, don't forget that you need to sign a contributors agreement before we can look at it. And there will be a link. But please do pay attention to the comments that the bot puts in because we're trying to make it, the good thing about the bot is it will give you immediate feedback on the things that it can tell you need to do. The tests are going to run on your pull request. So, and depending on which repo you're modifying, that will take a short time or a long time. If you're making a pull request into edX platform, you might have to wait for up to an hour or even a little bit longer on some busy days to see what happened with your tests. And right now there are 7 distinct checks that get made on a pull request. And so you might get up to 7 green check marks or maybe a red X.
This is for edX platform.
For edX platform, right. For other repos, there are fewer checks and they're run on Travis rather than Jenkins, but you don't need to worry about that, about the distinction between Travis and Jenkins. If the tests fail, you click through the links to find out what the failures were. Navigating Jenkins is a little bit esoteric, figuring out where you have to poke through to get it. George has just posted the screenshot of the OSPR comment, I think.
Yep.
I can't quite see
yes,
that, but yes, okay. Yeah, hey, thanks for the pull request. Look at that. And he's even found an initial one with the contributor agreement.
Good job, George.
Thanks, George. So if you have test failures, pay attention to them. If you need help navigating the links from the pull request into the continuous integration systems, ask in the testing channel or even the dev channel on Slack. We can help you. The other thing to know about your pull request is that one of the community managers, which is George and Shauna and me, will be commenting on your pull request. So we are the ones who do the first look at, does this pull request look good. Are there tests? Have you explained what you're trying to do? Does it seem even remotely possible that we're going to merge this someday? Those kinds of assessments. And oops, sorry. What we do on the pull request is we are sort of the concierge for you to shepherd the pull request through the process within edX. We'll help you understand what you need to do. So we'll do some assessment about, oh, you don't seem to have any tests, and I can see there are strings here that needs to be internationalized, things like that. We will also determine which engineering team at edX would do the review, whether the pull request needs a product review. So the pull request can go through a number of states, which are not GitHub states, they're our own process states. The first is that we'll look at the pull request and say, oh, this seems to be changing a feature of the product. It's touching the user experience. We need to make sure that product is okay with this. So we might put you into the product review state, which means that a product manager at edX will be looking at the overall design of your feature and commenting, approving, whatever about it to make sure that it's going to fit in with the product as a whole. Awaiting prioritization is the state where we think that this thing is fine for engineering review, and you go into the backlog for an engineering team, and we are now waiting for that team to decide to pull your pull request review into one of their sprints. All of the engineering teams at edX work on either weekly or 2-week-long sprints. And at the beginning of that time, they pull in a bunch of JIRA stories about what they're going to accomplish in the next week or 2 weeks. And then they work for that period of time and ideally finish all that work and then can start the process over again. And in order for them to have a chance to be planful and thoughtful about how they're going to spend their time and how they're going to balance the internal work versus the external reviews, all of your pull request becomes a JIRA ticket, which they can schedule into their sprint. The awaiting prioritization status means that they have not pulled your pull request review into one of their sprints yet. One of the things we're hoping to do is make it clearer when the pull request makes that transition. When they have pulled it in and an engineer has been assigned to it, an engineer starts reviewing the pull request, then you get into the engineering review status. And all of these statuses, by the way, are visible as labels on the pull request. And I have absolutely no doubt that George is going to find us an awesome screenshot of the labels on the pull request to illustrate what I'm talking about. So engineering review means that an edX engineer has been assigned to review your pull request, and they will be doing that work sometime in the next day or two, let's say. When they do the review, they're going to have a discussion with you, and you should respond to what they're saying. They might get to the end of their review and say, okay, now the changes, we need to see more changes from you. So there'll be a back and forth. You've written the pull request, they've done their review, they may want some changes. The ball is back in your court, and that's when the pull request goes to waiting on author. And you'll see that status change in the GitHub pull request. When the review is happening, you're having a discussion with them, and you need to attend to their feedback, work with them if you think the feedback is confusing or is unreasonable, or if they seem to have misunderstood your intent. Don't take it personally if it seems like they don't like what you've done. Maybe they just didn't understand, or maybe you can make a simple change that will make them happy. We would need to work together to end up with code that's going to be a successful merge into the product. When all that is done, then we merge. Congratulations. The edX engineer pushes the big green merge button, and your code is now part of OpenEdX, and you feel really good about it because you have done a thing, and other people can get that thing from the open source code, and it gets spread to 300 sites around the world, and you've made a dent in the universe, and that's really cool. After that, we would love it if you could hang around in the community, and we can reach out to you and get help if something needs to change about the code you've contributed. This is not a formal contract. We are not insisting that you somehow promise that this is the case, but as the author of the feature, you will know the most about it. You will have a lot of interest in how it progresses in the future. And we would love to be able to enlist your support to keep that feature working in tip-top shape. That is the end of the code contribution process. Are there any questions?
I do not see any so-and-so.
No one is typing.
You can always also
Although-
save these questions for the end.
Matt did a confusing thing earlier where he typed, "I have no questions," which means it said he was typing, and then the result was no question. But no one is even typing that. Oop, Zachary said thanks. Cool. Okay.
Right. If you come up with questions later, feel free to ask them.
Am I doing the next one too?
No, Sylvia is.
Oh, sorry.
I perhaps could have ordered this so
That's
you were
fine.
doing the next one.
That's fine.
Great. So the next thing we're going to go over is how to make doc contributions at a sort of high level. So I'm going to, there's an overview on this page, but you can also access the overview. So I'm just going to pass it over to.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten a request to join this meeting.
Oh, Well, so if you haven't gotten a request, I'm not sure beyond, are you in Slack?
Yes.
Or actually, maybe I should hip chat you. Sylvia, can you join via that link?
Maybe.
Matt, don't steal Sylvia's thunder.
Seriously. Hey, here I am. Awesome.
All right, excellent. So take it away, Sylvia.
All right. I'm Sylvia. I'm from the documentation team. Let me share my screen. Share. Okay. So, you want to make a documentation change. We welcome your contributions. The documentation team is currently down to 3 people, so we are definitely, there's a lag.
Okay.
Yeah, don't use that as an
Fine.
indication of
No
Fine,
questions.
don't look at that.
Yeah, I was trying, and it didn't minimize either when I wanted it to. So my apologies. Got to see some communication between Shauna and me. So we definitely welcome contributions. We also know that there are a lot of places where our documentation is incomplete, and we want to encourage you, if you're contributing a feature, to add documentation for it, because that is actually part of a feature being complete. Assuming that you are not contributing a feature, but you're just kind of looking around through the documentation and you notice that there's a problem with it, or there's a hole that needs to be filled, you can, the best thing to do is create a JIRA ticket and then start working on it. You can also look through the JIRA tickets to see what's there and see if there's anything that you feel like you can contribute. We have some JIRA tickets specifically labeled Outreachy, and those are the ones that are definitely ready for work that you can take over, but you don't have to look for just the Outreachy ones. You can.
And in fact, if you are not going to be applying for Outreachy, we'd prefer it if you, at least for the next couple of weeks while the application process is open, we'd prefer if you reserve those for the Outreachy interns.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure how that all
worked
together. So, okay. And we actually just finished yesterday a massive backlog purge. So
Nice.
So hopefully you won't get completely lost in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of JIRA tickets. So you guys are pretty computer savvy, it sounds like. You're like good at computery stuff. So I don't have to go through a whole bunch of information with you, but once you've found a ticket, and this is the one that I've found to do, add Greek letters to learner docs for math expression problems. Right now, this is what our learner docs look like. We just have a list of names of the Greek characters or Greek letters that can be used, and we want to actually add the Greek characters. So what you do is you go to the edX documentation repo and you clone it to your computer. When you do, you will end up with something that looks like this. I've got edX documentation open here. You'll go into the ENUS, for English US, obviously, and there's all these different projects that you can contribute to. I've marked in green the ones that you would be the most interested in. When you look at, I'll go back to the student docs here. We have several different guides. We have course author guides for partners and Open edX. We have student guides for partners and Open edX. We have the Open edX installation guide. None of the names of these guides actually correspond very well to the names of the folders in these files, which can be kind of confusing, and that's why I've marked, I don't know if you guys want to maybe take a screenshot so that you know which ones that you'll be most likely to contribute to.
You can also ask for help identifying the right one.
That's true. You can also ask for help, which might be the best, your best bet. So then, assuming that you found you know which file you want to work on, you know which guide it's in, we work in RST. So I've been using, the doc team here uses Sublime. So you can see I've gone through and I've started adding the actual symbols for Greek letters. If you have any questions about how to format different things like headings and stuff, if you go back into the ENUS folder, there's this handy thing called the edX style guide. And the style guide has the thing that's probably going to be the most helpful to you is this example RST file that shows like all the different heading levels that we use. But so assuming that you've figured out how you want to style it, you've made your contribution, then you just like the Open edX pull request, our contribution process, you submit a pull request. Now, the main thing that you need to know about that is that when you submit a pull request, and I've got one here ready to go that I was working on last night, you get this massive template. And just like with the Open edX feature contribution process, pay attention to the template. It will not lead you astray. So you go through and you one of the most important things that you want to do is run this tests script to make sure that whatever you're adding to the documentation doesn't break the documentation that's already there. And then you submit your pull request, and then usually someone from the open source team will let the doc team know, or we get tagged on them.
I'm just wondering is it only me, or I think Sylvia is muted.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I think, Shauna,
if I'm doing things, is that causing it?
You're typing, I think.
Oh. How do I undo it?
Oh, actually, we would prefer the feature be documented before it's merged, actually.
Can people hear? Oh, it's dropping out occasionally? Well, let us know if it happens again.
So whose mics are on right now? That's the question. Are these both on, or
Mine is not.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I see. So you're, all right.
So maybe we should turn off your mic and turn mine on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I found it. Okay. All right, are we good now? Maybe you can hear me a little bit better. Okay, great. Well, that was pretty much all that I was going to say about that. I'm looking at the questions that are in the Slack channel. At what point should the PR process be? Yeah, ideally documented before it merges. In an ideal world, we actually have documentation before a feature is considered complete. Sean is giving me a look.
Do we live in that ideal world, Sylvia?
It would be nice if we did.
Let's just say it's never too early to document the work you've done.
Yes, thank you.
That's definitely true.
And when you document it, think in terms of not just open edX users, but also course authors who are going to one of my jobs here at edX is to translate between developer and humanities professor. So think about how the typical non-technical person is going to be using this tool and what they'll need to know to be successful with it. A lot of things. I could sing for I could sing for you guys if you want. And now I forgot what I was saying. Thanks a lot, guys. It was about documentation. Oh, so think about how course authors are going to use it. Think if there's anything that learners are going to need to know, as well as the open source community. Any questions?
There was a question about the best place for, is there documentation for how to contribute to documentation? And I was going to link to, well, I'll do it now. The edX documentation repo has a README, which outlines some things like how to test your changes. I don't know if that's the best place for how to contribute to documentation.
There's also the contributing to.
Right, so one of the projects we're working on is a couple of open one which will be focused on code contributions. But those are not yet available, so we can't quite towards them. But hopefully soon.
Yep. We'll make sure that it's out there because we do want to encourage contributions.
And then Laurent had, sorry, we'll speak up since we're all sharing Sylvia's mic, and maybe we'll look at getting real microphones set up for next time. Sorry, Laurent also asked about contributing translation.
And we're actually just about to go over.
Okay, great.
So, and that is Ned again. So. Just switch back to.
Are you distracting this?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
All right.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I can hear you now.
So,
You
want to just go back and repeat what you said about you're answering?
So I answered. So Zachary, you asked about a Confluence page. We have a Read the Docs chapter section about the contribution process, which we will link to here. Maybe George will link to it. The last kind of contribution we can talk about right now is translation. So right now, all of our human readable text is on a site called transifex.com. All of it gets scraped automatically every week from the source code and pushed up there, all the English strings. And hundreds of people have volunteered time to translate that text into a number of different languages, dozens of languages. And then each week we pull down those translations for a few of them to run on edX.org. Courses are not translatable yet. The courses, we haven't talked about this, the code is open source and shared with the community. Courses are not. The courses are all copyright by their course authors. So we don't have a way to translate courses, but all of the human readable text in the software, I'm getting distracted by seeing my face on the screen suddenly. So if you're interested in helping to finish a language or in starting a new language on Transifex, head up there and volunteer to be a translator. We're looking at other ways to support translations other than Transifex, but for now, Transifex is what we're using.
Great. So we actually have a fair amount more content for this remote meetup, but we are out of time. So what we might do for next month is just continue to talk about the contribution process, but we don't have to give up the room for another 10 minutes or so. So if there are any questions about what we've covered so far, please feel free to ask them. And if you have questions about reporting bugs or how we're improving our process, you can take a look at the slides, which will be available, and or you can wait till next month or ask questions in Slack generally or on mailing lists, etc. But we're going to leave the rest of the presentations for next month. Looks like there's a question for you.
Right. So Laurent, we are talking about the UI translation. Our doc repo is set up hopefully for other languages in the future, which is why the first directory you have to look in is ENUS, but we don't have the docs pushed up to Transifex to get them translated yet. And I'm not sure if we know how to do that. So no, we don't have a way to translate user documentation yet.
I remember that there was a question for Omar like 30 minutes ago. If whoever that was is still around and wants to re-ask it, we can send the Hangout over to him to answer it. And if people generally have any questions about anything we've been talking about over the last hour.
Yeah, so I think we covered when the feature should be documented, and the answer is as early as possible. One thing that's tricky about the pull request process is that GitHub does not have a way to make a pull request that has changes to more than one repo. So if you are building a feature, for instance, in edX platform, and you want to contribute the documentation for that feature, it has to be two completely distinct pull requests, which can progress at different rates. In theory, one could be merged and the other could be rejected even. So we don't have a way to tie things together other than to simply link from one to the other and say, oh, by the way, I also contributed documentation in that pull request over there. Hi, Christian. You've got a whole feature proposal right here in the question.
Yeah, so if you have a feature proposal generally, so this is something that we were going to get to in segments that we have not yet, that we didn't get time to go through. But so if people have features they want to add to the platform, and they're not sure, it's not precise enough or small enough to fit into a single OSPR, what you should do for now is just flat out just contact us. So either via edX code or through a direct email to oscm@edx.org. You can contact the open source team and we'll help you figure out who you need to be talking to in order to see whether your feature is a good fit.
But if I could just talk about this one proposal. So this is a very interesting proposal because for a couple of reasons. One, it sounds like a fairly significant feature. It sounds like a feature that someone might look at and say, for some reason, I don't want to put this feature in Open edX or on edX.org. And Christian, I don't know what your business plan is, but it sounds like it's the basis of your business, this feature. And so perhaps what you're looking for is a way to offer this capability to Open edX sites rather than contribute this capability for free to all Open edX sites. I'm missing some details here, but let's just say hypothetically that that feature is not going to go into the platform as is for free for everyone. Another option besides contributing the code to build the feature is to help us build an API that makes it possible for other people to integrate your feature if they so choose. And we've been talking about getting contributions in, but one of the things that I'm particularly interested in as an architect on Open edX is making the platform extensible in ways that means that you can add things to your site without having to contribute the code into the Commons repo, either because it's difficult or it's proprietary or it's exotic or for whatever reason. So I would love to see the platform have more APIs. So one possibility is that as you think to yourself, I want to build a feature for OpenEdX, we might have a discussion that morphs that into, you're going to help us build an API that lets you build the feature without contributing it.
Right, many options.
Many options.
And the best way to figure out which option is the best is just start a conversation.
Right.
So there was a question from Omar about what has been edRock's most popular course. So I'm gonna switch this back over.
Well,
You still here?
ironically, yeah, I'm still here.
Cannot hear you.
All right.
You might be muted, Omar.
Okay, I have unmuted myself.
So we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Still can't hear you, but we can see you now, which is something.
Our most popular course is
wait a second.
Is
English,
the British Council. Hello.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had my computer muted. Go ahead. Sorry.
Did you answer the question, Omar? Maybe everyone else heard it and we just missed it.
Yes, I have answered it. I can repeat.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, great. I think I am having some bandwidth issue because our office is overpopulated. Okay. Yeah, our most popular course, ironically, it's an English course by the British Council. So we have a branch of the British Council in Jordan, and they were so kind to offer a course at edRock. Actually, it is a two-part courses, and it had a 100,000 enrollee.
1,000. That's good.
Yeah.
100,000, yes.
100,000. That's even better.
By a couple orders of magnitude.
Yeah, a couple. At least two.
All right.
So Zachary has another question about a bug. So if it's truly a bug, this is one of those things where sometimes you see a bug and it's really just a bug, and sometimes it actually becomes a bigger conversation about, how should that thing actually work? Yeah, James, thank you for doing the arithmetic for us. Yeah, so if you have code to fix the bug, go ahead and make a pull request. If you already have code, we're not going to say you have to go and start a forum post in order to get approval. We can start with code. We would just, if you haven't got code yet, definitely the best place is to start with discussing. And in a quick glance, it does sound like what you've got is just a bug that an engineer can resolve with you and merge.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I just want to quickly go to one slide that I'd like to cover this month rather than next month. Wait, what was the slide? So one of the things that we're working on improving is having a clearer process for contributions that are larger than a single OSPR. So if this is something that you've done before and have experienced any sort of feelings about, whether positive or negative, but especially if they're negative, please get in contact with us, because we're going through a process now of trying to improve the process, and getting your feedback is really important. And it's not going to be a super quick process, so I'm sure we'll still have stuff to talk about next month, but we'd love to hear from you now. So yeah, just email us at oscm@edx.org, and we will talk with you about some of the changes we're considering and get your feedback on whether you think those changes would work for you, and also hear about your experiences. Great.
Even better maybe than emailing OSCM is to start a thread in the discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's not, sensitive information or whatever.
Yeah, based on your, we're comfortable talking about it in any forum. So do what feels right to you. Yeah, and it will be a public discussion. We just want people to know that you don't have to talk about it publicly if you have sort of criticisms that you prefer to be private.
Right.
Right. So the next meetup will be in October, Thursday, October 27th from 2 to 3 p.m. EDT, UTC -4. I will be linking to these slides in the YouTube link and in the remote meetup channel, and probably also in the general channel. And I'll put a link to the recording. Usually will take, last time it took about 5 or 6 hours for it to process. Yeah, it should be all available, and let me know if you have any problems with it. Thank you all so much for attending this meetup. And again, let us know if you have suggestions for future topics. All right, thanks everyone.